What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James Shue in the flesh.
I'm back. Oregon, Portland, let's go.
Portland. Back from Portland, beautiful Portland.
The day I got back is the day you left for Portland.
So we both were in Portland the same week. And got to experience a lot of the film culture out there.
We blessed him with Kent Wong, then we blessed him with Chasing Cinema.
And now we're back home, really home, at the movie theater here, AMC Town Square, to watch the new creepy inspired story, Scary Stories We Tell in the Dark.
Successful kids book.
Very, very popular. A collection of what you could call campfire stories, all scary stories, very small, very short, with some really cool illustrations. Not a book that like I could recall things, but at one point, of course, like many kids, that was on my shelf. I'm sure during those Scholastic book fairs, I picked it up. Yeah, oh yeah, I for sure remember owning it at one point. But none of the stories like stuck with me or anything. Not like Goosebumps, but like Goosebumps, I had a lot of Goosebumps books and don't really remember them. But at one point, that crossed paths with me. Now you have this kind of.
Hey, in high school or middle school, I should say, did you love it when they gave you the new? Like piece of paper pamphlet where you gotta like check the new books you want.
Yeah, like the Scholastic books. That's what I'm saying.
I loved it.
When you used to go through, I remember Scholastic would come and they would like present all their books. They'd open up all these carts and there'd be tons of books and you'd just walk around and be able to shop. You'd write and then you'd go home and be like, hey, we need this much. I can get all these books.
Mom.
yeah, for sure.
And I always remember my mom said,
one.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
Like,
fair enough. So yeah, and now we have a movie with Guillermo del Toro, the guy who obviously just cleaned up at the Oscars a couple years ago.
Ship of Water.
Yeah, I mean he's newfound glory now doing a PJ, which is kind of a kids horror movie, which is a category that doesn't really get done very often. Usually we're kind of in that PG-13 era where it's really CGI heavy, or we get like the really gruesome R's. We had Goosebumps and a few other movies that kind of play with the kid horror genre, but it's tough. So this movie is PG-13, and I was kind of curious about how they're going to approach that. Are they going to be a little bit more adult, or are they going to be more kid-friendly? But a movie that I was holding my breath for, but I'm glad to see something new out. Overall, after seeing it, I thought that there were some really good things about it, and I thought there were some really not so good things about it. I think the one thing I'll say is I just thought the movie was very cool in terms of it made me feel very nostalgic, not because of the stories made me think of my childhood, but because this type of movie doesn't really feel like it gets made anymore. Again, kind of going back to the idea of the younger horror genre. It's not something that's explored that much. They kind of make the PG-13 horror movies, which young kids can see, or younger kids, I guess, can see, but it's not necessarily geared towards them. Where this movie kind of feels like that 80s adventure with very creepy catalysts, and they're not afraid to throw in those really things. Every scary encounter in this movie with a creature or a catalyst was genuinely creepy, I thought. Like, there's the scarecrow that you see in the trailer. I thought that was really creepy. There is one in particular that isn't shown in any of the trailers, at least that I've seen. And I was getting pretty genuinely creeped out. And I think that's just really cool when you could have that ability to not really be CGI heavy, present something which feels like kind of new. I mean, there are these books and these stories within this movie are kind of based on older urban legends and folktales, like the spider pimple thing. Like that's an old urban legend. It's not an original story. So some of these things that you see are very familiar, and you've kind of heard these stories, but it's very cool just to kind of see them done in a way. And at the same time, you kind of have like the Goonies trio where they're trying to fight this evil thing. There are a bunch of kids, a bunch of misfits, all going through. The problem is that part wasn't very interesting. The book is, like I said, a collection of scary stories. So in order to make this an actual movie, they needed to build a world in which these stories can come to life. So in the movie, the idea is that there is a haunted house in which these kids find a book. And because they have picked up this book, a story will begin writing itself. And a story is, the stories that we saw in the old book, and that usually affects a particular character, knocking them off, and then we have to solve the problem. Every time we were outside of kind of the creepiness and we were kind of with the characters, it feels very generic. There is like this whole Vietnam War, Nixon, kind of not subtle political commentary that doesn't feel like it fits, and the characters are fine. I think the younger actors are actually quite good in some particular scenes, but there's just nothing to really like want to stay with them. Like I think while it wasn't really scary for a lot of people, people loved that movie because it was so much fun hanging out with the Losers Club. But obviously that one's a little bit more adult. You know, the kids were way more racy. This one feels very teenage 80s adventure to me, and I thought that was kind of fun. But the characters weren't very fun. Yeah, exactly. But the characters weren't in fun enough to where I'd want to like hang out with them again. But the scary stories, I was like, this is cool, and I really hope we could kind of continue exploring this space, because I think it's harder to scare people without, you know, super heavy CGI. I think it's hard to scare people without gore and blood, and to do it in a creative way where it's just kind of uncomfortable and creepy. So for that, I enjoyed it. For like all the other meat and vegetables, not so much. Obviously, this book series, I think there are multiple volumes. So, you know, of course, we kind of end at a point where we're going to be leading into what would be a sequel, which I would be shocked if we don't see, because, you know, horror films are usually made very, very cheaply, and no matter what scary movie it is, they usually get a crowd.
Yeah.
So I would be shocked if we don't see that. And that part, to me, is kind of like, I don't know if I want to follow these characters' journey, but I am excited to see these other scary stories told. I don't know if you would like it per se. I don't know if you would love it.
What do you think?
I don't think so, because I don't think you were like a big fan of those particular movies. Like for me,
I don't even know what it is.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think of some good examples.
And I don't even know
like The Frighteners. Did you ever see The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox? No?
I don't even know what the pimple thing you keep on saying is.
Oh, okay. So, well, I don't want to necessarily spoil it.
No, yeah, don't.
So, but the trailer, you know, it's in the trailer and the poster and stuff. But
so the book though was all separate stories, not like this interconnected.
So this is the same deal, kind of. Yeah. So the original book that you actually could purchase and that this is based off of was just, I think, 2 to 3 page stories in multiple verses. And in the movie, the book writes itself, and it recreates those stories. So it's essentially, you know, they had to build all the characters, they had to build the idea of the book writing itself, which I thought was a cool idea though. Like all the groups of kids, and it starts writing one of their names, like one of their names is Stella, so it says Stella is in the haunted, and then it's coming true as they're reading it, and that's how they're trying to stop it. I think that concept is really cool. I just don't think the characters are really fleshed out enough, and you know, we've kind of been there and done that. But I wasn't angry, and I thought it was very nostalgic for me. So I had a good time. A little bit long. I think they could have cut 20 minutes out easy and made it, you know, a solid 90-minute movie. But yeah, my only worry is that I think people are going to assume it's for kids, so they're going to say, nah, that's going to be cheesy and silly. Like for me, it's interesting that out of all the things that we, all the scary things that we approach in this movie, that they went with the spider pimple one. Because that's probably the least creepy. I mean, obviously a lot of people have fear of spiders, so maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy. But the other characters we meet in the movie are way more
creepy.
Yeah, and like could have been, I think, could entice more adults to see this movie, because I don't think it's for kids only, and I don't think it's like insulting to your intelligence. I think people who like horror movies, and I think people who like that kind of creepy environment would really enjoy it. And I just don't know if they think it's geared towards kids, they'll give it a shot. So that's kind of a bummer.
Respect.
Yeah. I like being creepy. I like the horror stuff. So for me, this was fun because it wasn't everything else that we've seen lately. So yeah. Next week, more kids. Only this time, they're not that good. Even though it's called Good Boys.
What else comes out?
I think that's it. So it's going to be fun. Hopefully.
It's the one that's
Seth Rogen producing.
The rated R new version.
Yes,
of
Jacob Tremblay from Room. So I'm excited to, hopefully that'll be good.
It does look funny.
I hope so. You know, I mean, I get like the whole Angry Birds 2.
Nope.
Yeah, so those are our options next week. But that's okay, because hopefully Good Boys is good. Right now it's sitting at a 78%.
Okay.
That's good. You know, so you never know. Let's not, you know. It is August. You know, August tends to be that kind of that slow down month, but you never know. We're always in for surprises here at the movie theater. So next week, AMC Town Square, come join us to go see Good Boys. I'm sure it'll at least give you some laughs. It'll be a good time.
I think so.
Yeah. So make sure to join us here for discount tickets. Text this guy at 702-345-618. Or comment below if you want to join us.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, and let us know.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Vegas.
What is your favorite scary story? I'm curious, because do you have one? Was there a scary story you heard as a kid that terrified you?
A scary story?
Like Bloody Mary. I mean, that's probably one of the more popular ones.
Yeah, I never
did you ever do it?
No,
Yeah,
wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I was always the one who's like, yeah, I don't believe in any of that, but you would also never.
The irony, yeah, I was just gonna say the irony is even at 37, I don't believe it, but you told me to do it, now I'm good.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, I'm a firm believer in not. Yeah, you know, I'm the guy who wrote horror movie rules, and also someone who's like, you know,
that's stupid.
Anyway,
Will you do
that's
it?
Stupid. No way.
No.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, join us next week for hopefully a very, very fun comedy.
Well, yeah. Jason Zimmerman, how's known as
Film Lovers website.